Yo, what's good, everyone, and welcome back to a new season of Winning Picks Weekly. As always, I'm joined by my buddy, my co-host, my pal, my man, Greg Albert. And on Winning Picks Weekly, especially when we're talking college football, which is why we're here today, specifically the ACC and the SEC, is our main man, Chip. What's up, guys? How you guys doing?
I'm good, man. Excited for college football to be back.
Yeah, and it's back soon. I'm ready to
Yeah.
go.
What's it?
Trying to enjoy this last little bit of summer, but football's here.
10 days. 10
Yep.
days till week 0. Navy and Notre Dame in Ireland. Ooh.
Yeah, I'm sure that Notre Dame and Ireland is going to be a crazy game. I just saw Middle Tennessee in Rome, just like walking around.
I know.
It definitely is college basketball, men's football, just a broad season. So we got the
Mhm.
USA team playing. I mean, the summer's almost over. I think you can check out the Jets episode if you want to hear some Jets training camp stuff. But people are counting down days, asking Siri how many days till September 11th. So I think we're exactly 25 days away right now. So yeah, I'm excited. Let's just get into it right now. We're gonna do the ACC preview and the SEC preview. I got some conference winners, a couple of over under wins. And let's just start with the ACC, right? I mean, we're not going to talk realignment today. We're just going to talk 2023 to 2024. And the ACC is kind of king right now, right? Right now, there's still like a real conference.
For
And
now. For now.
for now, and honestly, for me, it's one of the most exciting conferences. There's, in my opinion, it's only around two or three teams can possibly win it, but I think it's going to be a really exciting two or three teams to the top. And honestly, I think that winner of the ACC is going to get into the Final Four. So we'll see how it goes. I don't know where you guys want to start. Chip, you want to start off here? Let us know what you think about the ACC overall this year. Who you have winning? If you have any big surprises, what do you got in the ACC?
Sure, I can start if you want. I can start with who I think is going to win. I'm all in on Florida State. I'm big in on them. I know Clemson's a slight favorite, and people are really high on Clemson too, understandably. I'm all in on Florida State. Mike Norvell. I mean, I texted you guys the ESPN Plus article from Billy Connolly that has the returning production rankings from guys who obviously were really good for the team last year. Florida State has a lot of guys back. They have 8 offensive starters, 8 defensive starters. Their offense was great last year. 36 points per game, 484 yards per game. They were 10th in total offense, 16th in points per game in the nation. Their defense was good too. Obviously, you guys, I know, love Jared Verse. We know he's an absolute superstar going to play in the NFL.
Shout out
I
you,
don't know.
Albany.
Yeah, and Jordan
Yeah.
Travis is a stud. So I like Florida State to not just win the ACC at plus 150. I like them to at plus 320 to make the college football playoff. I
I, I
know, yeah.
I like that, but before you go on, actually on FanDuel right now, the Florida State's plus 170, and as you
Okay.
mentioned, the slight favorite is at 150 at Clemson.
Okay. So it's different on there. I was just looking at, again, all these odds I'm going to say are on DraftKings. I was just looking at.
Hmm.
Mike Norvell killed it in the transfer portal. That's another thing about him. But I know they open up against LSU, and I'm also high on LSU. We can talk about them later. Who they did beat last year. That's going to be a revenge game for LSU, I know.
Yes.
But after that, Southern Miss and Boston College, who are terrible. At Clemson, I know it's a tough one. Then Virginia Tech and Cuse at home. Duke at Wake, at Pitt, Miami at home, who I think is going to suck. North Alabama at home, and at Florida, who I also think is going to suck. They got 2 games to worry about, in my opinion. LSU and at Clemson. I think they'll win. I think they'll beat Clemson at Clemson because I think they're better than Clemson. I think they'll
And that's the
probably,
ACC, right?
yeah,
They win that
Yeah.
game.
yeah, yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, exactly. I think they'll probably lose the LSU game, and I think the smart move is probably to wait to bet them to make the college football playoff until after they lose the LSU game when the odds go up. And yeah, I think it's. I'm interested. John, you said you think there's 3 teams that could win the ACC. Who's the third team you think can win the ACC?
I mean, I feel like we have to put the top quarterbacks, right? So
Okay. So Drake, yeah.
yeah, so I guess North Carolina Drake May is a possibility, and you're talking about trying to get value. If you really want value and you really think Florida State is going to kill it, and let's say they do beat LSU, I mean, I would have to look at Jordan Travis for Heisman, right? It's like plus 1,400 right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay with that. I know Caleb Williams, Caleb Williams, Caleb Williams. I've heard it 1,000 times. I just USC is. We'll see what happens.
He's not going to win back-to-back Heisman's.
Has that ever happened?
Yeah, It's oh my God, who won? Was it Herschel Walker did it?
Oh, okay, yeah. I don't know if Caleb Williams is going to do it. We'll see what happens. He was incredible last year, but if you're looking for value and you do like
season.
yeah, I know, and we'll see. But yeah, if you really like Florida State, which I do too, I'm taking them to win the conference. I have Jordan Travis in the Mojo app, so I have his stock. So I've been all over Jordan Travis for a little bit. I think they're going to be Clemson. I think they're going to be LSU. Honestly, I think they're going to be the big surprise. I think honestly, for me, Jermaine Johnson from the Jets is going to have an incredible year. I think his Florida State Seminoles are going to have an incredible year. I think he's individually going to have an incredible year, and I think the Jets are going to have a great year. So this is the year of the pass rusher. I think Jared Verse is going to be a top 5 pick, like you mentioned. I love Florida State, and we'll see what happens. Right? If they beat Clemson, and depending on what North Carolina does, they might even be 2, and Clemson bumps down to 3. Clemson was horrible last year. I know that this year everything's supposed to change, as they always say, but that's kind of my opinion on what's going to go on there. And then for me, sneaky 4 is Duke, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that, especially during the season. Greg, what do you think, man?
Yeah, I like that we do the show. I like that we're back in the saddle talking about picks because I like Clemson this year. But I don't hate that Travis plus 1,400 to win the Heisman because, like your guys are saying, and I like, Florida State, Clemson. I was thinking about them to win the ACC, but I think Chip's right. I think the better bet is Clemson to make the playoff. It's plus 350 compared to them winning the conference at plus 150. So, to your point, if they have a 1-loss or an undefeated season, either one of these teams, chances are they're going to be in the playoff. So, I think that's great that we're talking this stuff out because those are much better bets than what I was thinking. So I'm happy that we're doing this. Yeah, I think that Clemson is just. I'm not off the Clemson train completely. I think I was here and there. I was iffy on them the last few years. It really comes down to Florida State, Clemson. I think yeah. Drake May and UNC. There's a chance he goes nuclear. We saw that defense last year. I don't think that defense can hold up over the course of a season compared to Florida State and Clemson. So they play each other. John, you made the comment earlier, and that's the ACC. Clemson's at home for that game. Clemson gets them, at home after playing cupcake. So you have 3-4. You have the whole offseason to prepare for this game. They play 3 home games in a row, ending with Florida State, in late November or late September. So I just think it lines up well. Florida State has to worry about LSU week 1. Clemson's at Duke week 1. That's nothing to them. So, top defense, top offense. I think they're ready to go. I like Clemson. I like Clemson on the over 10.5. Because, again, I think on their schedule, I could read it off, but it's really Notre Dame at South Carolina at the end of the season is a little sneaky because I know South Carolina, I don't know when that game is at night, can be a little tough.
At Clemson.
Yeah, so that could be a little tough. Notre Dame doesn't scare me so much, but again, they're at home for that Notre Dame game. They're 2 tough opponents this season are at home. So compared to Florida State, are they at LSU week 1?
It's a neutral
site.
Yeah.
So, neutral site, and then they have to go on the road. So I just think that's a little bit more of an uphill battle for Florida State. So give me Clemson, but I was going to pick them to win the conference. Instead, I'm going with Chip, and I'm going to make the college football playoff. I think it's plus 350 right now on FanDuel.
I don't think I have Florida State to make the college football playoff. Actually,
Yeah, yeah,
that's
but
not what
that
I.
that 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 logic I'm going with. That
Oh,
logic
you're
I'm
going with
riding
that
with you.
logic.
Yep,
Okay.
yeah. So give me Clemson plus 350 to make the college football playoff instead of winning the conference. At plus 150, it's still a decent bet, still plus money. I like all my bets to be plus money, especially futures. But
Yeah.
350, if they have one loss and they win the conference, or if they have no losses and win the conference, to John's point, I think they're in. So let's go plus 350.
That's fair enough. And at that same token, Florida State's plus 380. So just a little bit more juice on Florida
Yeah,
State, no matter where you take them. I do. I mean, I do like Notre Dame this year. So
So do
I mean,
I. So do I.
so for me, that is a big game on the schedule.
yep.
Listen, I know that Duke is supposed to stink. I know that their under 6.5 is popular. But listen, man, especially at home, I'm not counting Duke as automatic wins this year. I think they're going to be competitive. I, I don't know. I think Riley Leonard's okay. Their quarterback. I don't think he's bad. And in this conference, there's only like what, three quarterbacks, and then you throw Riley Leonard in there for the fourth.
Yep.
I don't know. I'm not counting. I'm not going to say Duke is going to beat Clemson, but I definitely feel like they're going to cover. Right? Especially that first game of the season. So there's just a sneaky team for me there, and just like to round that off, because I don't have any much more on the ACC, but NC State. Listen, they're always for me like kind of back and forth, right? They're like a couple years ago they were our team, and then they kind of burned us last
A
year.
lot of injuries, I think, last year, right? That
Yeah,
was the name
Leary
of their
got hurt
season.
last year. Leary got hurt.
Yeah.
They got the kid from Virginia, right? Brennan Armstrong.
Hmm.
We'll see how that goes. I think they're competing with North Carolina for third. But again, just another sneaky team, especially ACC games at home. I don't know. Armstrong, well, the last time he was injured, right? Or he was really bad last year. The
That
last full
offensive
season he
line
had,
was terrible last year, though, in
yeah,
Virginia. Yeah.
his last full season that he played well, 2021, we had like
Mhm.
400 yards a game. So that's kind of what you're banking on there. Just to, kind of my thoughts there on game to game, right? Because you're gonna put your conference bets in. You're gonna put your especially your playoff bets in. You're gonna kind of let those ride, unless you're taking some parlays at mid season. So just a thought here on how I think the season's gonna go. Also, Louisville's interesting. They have a new staff. Probably gonna stink for the beginning of that, and then probably pick up as the season goes on. But do you guys have any like overall thoughts about the ACC? What to watch for besides, of course, Jared Verse, Defensive Player of the Year, maybe
I
Heisman.
like.
I'm just
I
kidding.
like. I like what you said about Duke. I have the Duke over too, 6.5. In part because of what you said about how everyone is off of them. Everyone thinks they're gonna fade, and everyone's like, I watch like you guys. I watch Barstool and I watch their college football podcast, and I saw Brandon Walker picked them as his most disappointing team, and I was like, I know their schedule is more difficult this year, but I don't see them regressing that much. I think Mike Elko can really coach. Like he took them from one of the worst defenses in the country last year to like a top 25 defense in the country.
Yeah.
And like you said, Riley Leonard's a legit quarterback. He has all of his wide receivers from last year coming back, almost his entire offensive line coming back. Pretty much, he has 9 of his 11 starters from last year coming back. 8 of the 11 starters on defense from last year are coming back. I don't know. I don't think they're going to drop off that. I don't think they're going to win 9 games again last year, but I didn't think they were going to win 9 games last year. That was crazy that happened.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I know it's a lot harder. Obviously, they open against Clemson. It's a lot harder schedule. They play ND at home, at Florida State, at Louisville game. They'll probably be underdogs in that. But I also, you mentioned Louisville, John. I also think we're really overrating Louisville.
Yeah.
I know we're giving Brom a lot of credit coming over from Purdue, but the total there is 8. That's a bigger number for me. He's won 8 regular season games the last 2 years at Purdue, but before that, they were pretty mediocre his time there. I know, he's probably got an easier schedule at Louisville than he did at Purdue. Played some pretty tough schedules there, but I don't know. I think we're giving him too much credit right away. Like no coach really come. comes in and dominates right away. And it's like, do we really expect him to win 9 games in his first season? I don't really get that. So I like the over for Duke. I like the under for Louisville. And of course, I think you guys probably know I'm going to take the over for Cuse 6.5 because it's also that's plus money too. That's another plus money. I think that's a nice one to take. I mean, I don't even know if I need to defend myself and just say I'm a homer for Cuse, of course. But also, I do think that defense is going to be good again. They have 8 of their 11 guys coming back on defense. And it's, Dino Babers got his contract. I get that that was controversial. My brother is a massive, even bigger Cuse fan than I am, and he did not want Dino Babers coming back.
What's the Cuse over under? Because I'm in New York, so they don't tell me because that'd
Six
be
and a
very
half.
very bad if I bet on a New York college team in New York. It would be
Yeah, yeah.
horrible.
I mean, the games are being rigged, so you can't bet on them. Yeah,
Yeah, and I know all about
obviously.
it because I'm a New York resident. So what's the Syracuse over under? Is it 6 or is it
Six and
five
a
and a half?
half on
6.
DraftKings. It's 6.5.
So you think they're gonna get 7 wins?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right. I won't be texting you
Here,
during the season because you get mad during the games, but
hold on. Well,
I'll reconvene.
they'll open up 4-0. They'll open up easily 4-0. I do think. Colgate,
Okay.
Western Michigan, and Army. Well, they have at Purdue, which I don't think Purdue's going to be very good. It is a road game. And then they have Clemson at Carolina and at Florida State. So that's 3 losses. But at Virginia Tech, Boston College at home, they both stink. So 6-3 there. And then they end the season Pitt neutral field at Georgia Tech and Wake. They really always struggle against Pitt, and Wake's going to be a lot better than people I think. Wake is going to be a lot better, I think, than you think so too, John.
No, I'm the people. I'm the people that
Oh,
think Wake Forest is gonna be so bad.
oh, really, really,
Yeah,
really.
yeah, yeah. I'm that person. I think
I
they're gonna
kind of
really regress, especially without my boy,
without.
uh,
Oh, you
Sam Hartman.
mentioned. By the way, you were talking about Heisman picks earlier. He's a good sleeper Heisman pick, I think. Playing at
You
Notre
gotta tell me,
Dame,
man. You gotta tell me what Sam Hartman and Bo Nix.
the media narrative around the Notre Dame quarterback putting up numbers. Oh man, the media narrative's going to be there for him.
I,
I think Hughes can win 7 with that schedule. I do.
all right.
Plus, they also play Pitt at Yankee Stadium, and that game, if Cuse has a decent record, there's going to be a lot of Cuse fans there,
That's
way
gonna be
more than
cool.
Pitt fans. Yeah.
That's really cool, John. I got one last ACC pick here. We've kind of talked. You guys have kind of made some comments here and there, so I thought you were going with it. Chip, you said Miami stinks earlier. You talked about not being able to turn a program around quickly. We saw that in full force with Mario Cristobal last year. We saw that with Miami last year. I mean, 5-7 straight up, 2-10 against the spread last year. If you were fading Miami every week in and week out, you were making money hand over fist. I think the over under right now is 7.5. And looking at their schedule, I think you can pencil in one win.
Yeah, yeah.
Against Bethune Cookman.
I agree.
Other
Dude,
than that, I don't know if Miami of Ohio you can pencil that in. Georgia Tech, I don't know if you can pencil that in. Like, there's a few teams at Boston College might be tough. At Temple might be tough. Like, I don't know what I'm getting from Miami and Mario Cristobal. To get 8 wins with some of these other programs, I think are in better situations. I think people thought with Miami they're just going to turn it around. The U is back. We've heard that now for 10 years. I don't think it's, unless you're a big, like a superstar coach, I don't think you can turn around a program with the transfer portal. I think it's too competitive. I just don't think you can turn around a program in 1 or 2 years. I think it's another down year for Miami. So I like the under 7.5 here for them.
Well, Tyler Van Dyke isn't as good as people thought he was.
Yeah.
Clearly. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
well, they have 42 new players coming in, including 16 transfers, 7 assistants, and 2 coordinators in those assistants.
Might not be a bad thing given how they looked last year.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
yeah.
But I do agree that they might need to have a superstar coach, because I think like 3 of the offensive linemen are brand new as well. Like, they do have a 5-star in there. So
Yeah, and I don't want to. I think there's only like 4 or 5 superstar coaches in college football. It's nothing against Mario Cristobal. I know he's like a Miami guy. The program loves him. The fans love him. I think he's going to get it right in time, but it's just not this season. I mean, 8 or 9 wins in the ACC, I think is going to be tough. I think a lot of these programs are going to be middle of the road, and I just think that they're one of them. So, 6-7 wins possible, sure, but I think most of these games are coin flip games, and when you have that many coin flip games throughout the season, especially how it tailed off for them towards the end of last season, the back half of the schedule, it got real ugly real fast. I mean, we're talking 3-45, 10-40, 16-42. There were some bad scores there, so. Give me the under 7.5 for my final ACC pick.
Yeah, that Middle Tennessee game was one of the worst losses I've ever seen.
Yeah, that was the
at
breaking
home.
point for the program.
Yeah. All right.
year.
So just to recap on the ACC, I have Florida State winning the conference. I also have them making the playoff. I'm gonna take Jordan Travis up plus 1400 Heisman because he's my boy. I've been riding him for a while anyway. So we'll see what happens there. And I love Wake Forest and Miami unders. The U, baby. I love it under and Wake Forest without Sam Hartman. I am fading them every single game. I do like I do over 6.5 sounds fun, but it also feels stressful. I feel like I'm going to be hanging around 4 or 5 wins for a long time.
Yep.
It's going to be tough.
I looked at that earlier today too, and I agree with Chip. You could probably start out 3-1, maybe 4-0, but then after that, it's like you're just gonna be sitting around waiting for that slip to cash all season long. It's gonna be a dogfight, but I think they have a shot to get it done for sure. I think that's a decent pick.
Chip.
Yeah, I'm going with Florida State to win the ACC, make the playoff, and Duke over. I said Cuse over. I said. Greg, you talked me into the U under, and I'm definitely throwing. And I think I talked myself into the Louisville under too. I'm going with Louisville under. I can't not take that now, but I'm definitely taking Miami under, and I think I'm going to fade Miami all year. And also, I forgot to mention it. I'm fading Boston College all year long too. That coach is a dead man walking. That's a team to fade all year.
I like that. All right, going from the ACC, which kind of top heavy, but it is going to be fun, especially trickling down. We'll jump to the almighty SEC, right? Where, I mean, it's really been a fun conference to watch, just from the top, and everything else is just kind of whatever. What are you guys' thoughts on the SEC? Is it just kind of status quo with Alabama, Georgia? Do we have any thoughts on Alabama, Georgia? Or who's gonna best the other, or it's just we'll kind of just wait and see what happens there? What are your thoughts on SEC, guys?
I mean, my thoughts are simple. I was at the casino this past weekend with my buddy who's in the high limit blackjack room, and we were there at 10 in the morning. No one's there. He's playing by himself, heads up against the dealer. I'm just sitting there watching ESPN programming. That's what they have on there. And this screen comes up of Alabama's results in the SEC when they haven't been favored to win the SEC. So it was so crazy I had to Google it, looked it up, found it again. So the stat is, this is the 9th time Alabama has not entered a season as the favorite to win the SEC under Nick Saban. They have won the title of the previous 8 instances, 5 of the previous 8 instances, and 5 of the 8, and then 5 of the last 6. So out of the 5 of the last 6 times they haven't been favorited to win the SEC, they've won the SEC. Give me Alabama. Give me them winning the SEC, making the championship, winning the whole thing. I'm locked and loaded on Alabama this year.
Wow.
And it's all because of this one graphic I saw at a casino at 10 in the morning. So take it with a grain of salt. That's how I roll. I believe in Nick Saban. I don't know the horses he has because we've talked about it. I've talked about it, I think, at length. I think it's one of the best wide receiver groups over the last 3 years that they've churned out. I don't know who the big names are this year. I was all over Gibbs this year. I'm happy to see him go in the first round in the NFL. I think he's going to be great in the NFL. They had a 1-2 punch at running back. Obviously, they had a great quarterback play over the last 3 or 4 years. Tons of guys getting drafted. I believe Nick Saban's going to reload. I believe in Nick Saban. 5 of the last 6 times he hasn't been favored to win the SEC. He's won it all. So give me Bama. Every way. First half bets I'll be betting every week. I'm betting Alabama as much as I can.
All right, Chip, what do you got in the SEC?
Wow. I was not expecting you to come in like that. All
Me
the
neither.
SEC is Alabama's conference this year.
All
I'm
right.
gonna disagree, and I'm gonna completely contradict you right away and say I'm taking LSU to win the SEC West at plus 200.
Okay.
Wow.
Ryan Kelly, Bama's got nobody coming back from last year on that team. That, I mean, they were great. They weren't as good as Georgia. And LSU's got 8 starters coming back from an offense that beat Bama last year, by the way. So I like LSU. I think Daniels is incredible. It bothers me that Bama still doesn't know who their quarterback is.
Yep.
They got nobody coming back from last year on either side of the ball, especially on offense. They brought in the kid from Notre Dame, and apparently he's been awful at quarterback because they still have no idea what they're doing there. I don't know who any of these wide receivers are. All I hear is, they're average. You normally by now you hear that at least one Notre Dame, Alabama wide receiver is going to the NFL, and you haven't heard anything about any of these guys. So I'm not confident in their offense. Their defense wasn't very good last year, and I'm still not confident in their defense now. I mean, it's Nick Saban. I get it, but LSU was loaded last year. These kids that are back are only going to get better. I like LSU to win the SEC West. I'm taking them. Brian Kelly, as much crap as I love to talk about him, as everyone does, he's a great coach, and he beat Bama last year. And I think Nick Saban will be back. I don't think this is the year because I don't think he has the roster. This is not his far and away his best roster. Not his best roster. Sorry.
So then why
Yep.
won't you put your money where your mouth is and take them plus 460 to win the SEC? Why you only going West? Why do you keep
Because I'm
adding
not
West to that?
because I'm not betting against Georgia.
All right. All right. We're staying with Georgia there. Okay. Um, I'm gonna sprinkle on LSU to win the conference just because I agree with you on the Alabama take, and we haven't mentioned Georgia at all. And I know they're supposed to win every year. I know they're elite, but I don't know. No more Stenson Bennett. Maybe Georgia just kind of falls off a little bit, loses a couple games here and there. And that's all it takes, right? Just lose one or two games, and it's over for Georgia. So we'll see there. I do agree with the LSU. I do like the coach. I don't love anything in that conference though. Greg, you love Alabama a lot. All right, we'll see how that
I
goes. I
trust Nick
definitely
Saban.
don't feel that. I'm kind of leaning more towards Chip here, where I kind of like LSU. That's kind of my dark horse this year, and Auburn. I love the Auburn over. Right? We'll give them the losses. Alabama, Georgia, LSU. We'll give them the wins. New Mexico State, Vanderbilt, Stanford, Cal, and UMass. And then that leaves the coin flip games of Arkansas, Mississippi State, Texas A&M, and Ole Miss. I think that's good. I think they're gonna be over 6.5. That's my favorite bet of the SEC. So I'll be rooting for Auburn this year, and I'll also be rooting for LSU. And then just if Alabama or Georgia take it, I'll just take that on the head and walk away and be happy with my Auburn over and my LSU to win the conference at plus 450.
I like that. I like that. I got one more pick, and for me, it's simple. I try to find plus money picks wherever I can. In the SEC, it's a little bit more difficult, because you have to kind of fade a pretty good team. Most of these teams are pretty good. I kind of like the Arkansas under 7. I see it at plus 140 on FanDuel, 6.5, under 6.5. Looking at their schedule, I see 3 wins, and then I see a lot of coin flip games throughout the rest of the season. I think it's going to be difficult. Not a ton of people returning on offense. Their quarterback's returning, and I like him. I think he was banged up last year. But I just looking at their statistics and remembering a couple of the games that they had last year where I was betting on them, just not a great defense, not the best offense, and it was all relying on the quarterback play. So it's just, to me, just not a recipe for success in the SEC. Like I said, 3 easy wins. You have to scrape out 4 more to hit the over. So I just think there's enough of these games. A lot of them are on the road that, LSU, A&M, Ole Miss, Alabama. I just don't see it. So give me the Arkansas under.
Last thoughts, Chip, on the SEC?
All right. A&M under 8. Jimbo Fisher's washed. A&M's wildly overrated. And my favorite one is Florida under 5.5. Again, plus money. I think Billy Napier's just in over his head. They got the toughest schedule in the country, 115th in returning production. Last year, they had their first loss at Vandy since 1988. If they have another losing season, it would be their first time losing three straight since the 1950s. I think they're going to have another losing season. I think they're going to be awful. So I'm taking Florida under 5.5.
I like that.
I love that. I'm joining you on the under for Florida. So I'm taking Miami U under, taking Florida Gators under. And that about wraps it up for our ACC SEC preview. We'll be on every week doing the full slate, all the games that we like as usual. But stay tuned for more previews of the conferences coming up here, as well as hit us up on YouTube for the like, subscribe when we're there, but also on the Apple, Spotify, Amazon. We are on there. Just give us that 5-star review. Give us that like. It really helps us out. And on Twitter at WinningPWeekly. My boy Greg talking to Big Cat, getting things done here. So, but yeah, check us out. We're really excited about this season. Follow our ACC, SEC. Let us know who you got. And wow, week 0 just around the corner, guy.
Yeah.